This is Infection, the survival podcast, recorded live on Tuesday, June 19th, 2018, episode 179. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Infection, the survival podcast. Infection is your source for the latest information on survival video games. We bring you the latest news, reviews, updates, and more each and every week. My name is Nick Craig. At Nicholas M. Craig is my Twitter. InfectionPodcast.com is our website. And I'm getting some crap in the chat that this isn't live somehow. I mean, I'm sitting here live. It's June 19th. Brian Aldridge, I believe, is also sitting here live, unless this is a really elaborate pre-record here, Brian. And you're muted, and it's not on my end. I don't think. So...
no, it's me.
Oh, okay. Well, so maybe see, I wasn't very good with editing out our back and forth banter. See, we don't make any money here. So when issues like this, mistakes like this happen,
we don't have time to edit this.
We are going hot to tape and sending it out over the air. It's that's what we do here. What's going on, Brian? How are you?
It's going pretty good. I'm fighting being sick. So if I cough, I'll probably mute myself here. That's why I was muted before because I was coughing. But I've got cough drops here if it becomes a problem. Got my water. We should be good to go.
Oh, thank God. I'm not prepared. I'm on very little sleep, so this is going to be an interesting show. If you lose your voice and I can't function, I lose my ability to function.
We will make it through.
Hopefully.
So if you want to find me at Boise Computer on Twitter, of course, you can go check out my blog, biteoftech.com. Of course, go to our website. Yes, and order. I did get another bag of mangoes this past week. I've been trying to keep from eating them all in the same 2 days.
Brian,
so
I got to learn you something about video. You just don't even mention something like that pops up. That's just an inside.
I'm just letting you know, for the people watching a video, it's your mango update for the week.
Oh, we need we need an intro. We know we've got a lot of talented people that listen to this program.
Mango update. So
yes, Brian's mango update.
All right, so make sure you check out our website on infectionpodcast.com. We have on the right-hand side links to pretty much everything that you'd want to get to. We have our Discord group, which people are talking through the whole week. People are playing games through the whole week.
Yep.
It's the primary way that we communicate. Also, we have our Steam group, which gives notifications before the live show. Also, we need to always remember to do notifications before our games of the week.
Yeah.
And then that way you'll get a little notification right before. If you're not at your computer, you don't have to worry about it, but if you happen to be there, it'll be a nice reminder to come and join us. Also, we have all the links to our podcasts, if you on iTunes, iPhone, whatever you're on, we have a link to that. We have our YouTube, our Twitch, and then the nice resource about our website is it has every set of show notes that we have done since I don't remember how our show notes, we had lighter show notes in the beginning.
I mean, I can tell you real quick.
We have thorough show notes now. We have pretty much show notes for every single episode that we've done, and that's what we're 179 episodes now. So I'm
quickly scrolling through my collection of Google Docs here. It appears that episode 15 is when we started taking extensive show notes.
Yeah.
And when I say extensive, I mean we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 updates. This was Tuesday, April 28th, 2015. We're talking about Daybreak's new logo, a player wipe.
Big news.
a Sunday hotfix, the April 23rd and 30th roadmap, looking at players. This is the inception. This was players versus last week. This was very early into current players. And then this is when we had tips of the week. Where the tip was learn the bullet drop, and then the advanced tip was wear skins in BR to avoid team kills because they didn't have indicators.
Yeah, because Nick would kill me.
Welcome back, and then some giveaway that Daybreak was doing. This was good stuff right here, folks. So
back in the days,
back in the good old days,
H1Z1 had updates.
Okay, we won't go there. A little bit later on here in the program, coming up here in probably about 25 minutes or so, we will have an interview with Erik, who is the community manager over at Conan Exiles Funcom. We had a chance to sit down with him before last week's episode and talk about the release of Conan Exiles. I think it was probably we've had good interviews with him in the past, but I think this one was a particularly good interview. So we'll have that for you here just about 25 minutes or so, so you can stay tuned for that. But I guess before we get into any of that stuff, Brian, let's talk about last week's game of the week.
Yes. So we played some Realm Royale.
I was unfortunately unavailable.
Yeah, that's fine. We had a number of people playing, and this game seems pretty polished. We're used to getting games like this that release and just everything is broken, things are not working right. But I know PH has been playing it quite a bit, and on this, playing this game, it feels like it's very polished. It has some unique aspects to it that are very different than some of the other battle royales. I don't really have it in the notes, but I guess we can talk about it a little bit right now. They have this pretty much, instead of the revive, you have you're a chicken.
Yep.
And that allows you to have a timer. I think it's like 25 seconds.
30 seconds.
30 seconds. If you can stay alive for 30 seconds after you are killed, you can stay in the chicken form. It will revive you back into your normal form, and you can be able to keep playing. Or, that's the thing, is that you can do it without any other players, so you can keep away, or, that gives you enough time to kind of run away and have your teammates come and maybe kill the other players or drive them away, to where then you'll have the time to get revived. So,
yep.
Now, can you go up to somebody and revive them as a chicken, or
no,
does it?
You cannot. You've got.
You just have to wait for the timer.
Yeah. Obviously, we talked about this either extensively last week or the week. I think it was last week during the E3 show. It's a free game, so go ahead and download it.
A lot of people are playing it.
Yep, and we'll have those numbers hopefully a little bit later on here in the show. Had you played it when we talked about it last week?
Before that, no.
Okay, so real quick impressions of it. I mean, what were your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I'd watched some of the streaming of it, and so I kind of had an idea going into it.
Okay.
Actually, I played a little bit before last week, but I didn't really. I think I played it once. I played enough to try it out. But one thing is, there is a learning curve to it. Kind of learning where to land. I'm still learning how to upgrade all the weapons and get all that quickly, because I remember the first time that I did this, I was running around and wasn't collecting. Like, PH had 100 and something gems by the time I had 20. And so I think you learn where to look and get that. I think once you do that, because there is an expectation that you will have that heroic or whatever it is, legendary weapon at a certain point in the match, and you'll have enough of these upgrades at a certain point in the match. So as you're learning, you'll be behind that, and you'll find that it's harder. So I guess there is somewhat of a skill gap in that way, just because you have to learn where things are, where to look, just like any of these other battle royale games. And that's the thing, is when you first time you landed in PUBG, you didn't know the general areas where weapons were. You didn't know where to look for certain items. Once you play for a while, you kind of learn that, and it gives you that advantage over the person that's playing for the first time.
Yeah, there definitely is a skill to it. When I say skill, I don't mean like, I think a game like PUBG has got a real skill associated with it. There is a method to the madness in a game like PUBG. A game like Realm Royale is a little more arcadey, but there is a process of going through the game. You need to build up armor by hitting a couple of different forges. You won't survive with your regular 200 armor, I think, is the cap you can get without forging anything. So there is a process, some type of track maybe to follow to be at a decent, have a decent gunfight, have a decent chance in a gunfight. So it's doing well. This is these are the people that made Paragons. So it's they've got experience.
And I guess it's a lot of the assets.
It is a lot of the assets. But I'll tell you this: for such a new game, I would make the argument, and it's my show, so I guess I can say whatever I want. Brian, you may agree with this. This is, I think, the most polished early access game on launch that I think we've ever played or seen. Off the cuff,
I think the only comparison maybe would be Fortnite. Fortnite. Now they had,
Yeah,
just like Paragons, they had Paragons as kind of a method to
Fortnite.
come up with a lot of it. Fortnite had their original game mode, which gave them the characters, the mechanics, and a lot of those things. So I would say that they had it polished in a similar manner that Fortnite did. Fortnite was very polished coming out of the gate. Things worked very well.
Yeah.
We didn't play a ton of Fortnite. We don't play it a ton. And so, but I would say probably about pretty much as polished as Fortnite is, from what I can tell.
Okay.
I mean, I haven't seen any of those glaring bugs, but so far it seems like it's right on par with that.
Quite a compliment, I think. I mean, Epic is an incredibly large company, so to be to have the same, not the same success because Fortnite is killing it, but to have the same quality of game on launch, I think is quite a feat in the early access.
From the compared to the company that made the whole engine. So I mean that is saying something.
Yeah, I mean we've been doing this long enough now. I think we're pretty good judges of how games are in early access, and it's no surprise, we've talked about in the past, that games are a mess on launch, and it's because there's an influx of players. There's just a whole bunch of things that all go down. So that's Realm Royale. I highly recommend you check it out.
Yes,
and it's again free. Download it, damn it.
Yes.
Play the damn game. If it's fun, continue to play it. If it's not fun, delete it, never touch it again. But highly recommend you download it and play it.
And then for our next week, we're going to be doing Rocket League, which is a game that we always have a lot of fun with. My wife will probably be playing, if we're going to be doing matches against each other, she'll be playing on PS4.
Cool.
So
we'll be doing
that is her favorite PC, I guess, PC style game. I mean, she plays on the PS4, but that's definitely her favorite game.
So we'll be doing that. That takes place Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, in our Discord. The links, all that information is on our website, infectionpodcast.com. Real quickly, before we get into any news or anything, I want to give a shout out to our good friend Green Man Cartoons, who hit us up with the 5-month resub right before we got started this evening. So Green Man, thank you very much. Appreciate your support. And of course, we've pimped his stuff on the show before, but go check out Green Man Cartoons on YouTube. If you haven't seen his most recent video, his Fortnite video, I'd highly recommend it. It is very, when I say very, I mean very accurate to Fortnite's play style. So go check that out on his YouTube channel. Green Man Cartoons. All right, Brian, we got a lot of news to get into. We got our interview with Jens Erik. So what do you want to start off with a game that had a big announcement today? Is that a good place to start?
Yes. So there was remember I had mentioned last week, I think the week before, the countdown timer.
Yeah.
That was happening on the ARC forum. And today that expired, and they had an announcement, which I think we already knew the name of. I think we mentioned it last week, but Extinction is the name of this new one. So ARC Extinction. And let's go ahead and play the video, and then we can talk about it a little bit if you'd like.
Yeah, and it was actually cool. They did one of those live streams like Fallout, where they had it just kind of counting down on screen, and then it hit 0-0, and we saw this. All right. So that's Arc Extinctions. It's available November 6th on the PS4, PC, and Xbox One. What in the hell did we just watch there, Brian?
Well, so first of all, some of the changes that you may see from other releases. it seems like you have a flying craft of some sort.
Yeah.
This is something that we haven't really seen. You haven't really seen any kind of vehicles like this. Everything has been animals, and so here they have in the map. If you look at even the first couple seconds, you see what look like lamp posts. So this is something very different. Right there. I mean, you see right at the top there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lamppost. So you're definitely dealing with some sort of a post-apocalyptic. This was someplace that was populated, and now it is not. It's not populated by people, I would assume. And so it's you kind of going and checking out this, what looks like a city. Another thing that's interesting is you see this map, which looks like it shows the United States.
It's planet Earth.
Or, I mean, sorry, the planet Earth.
Yeah,
you can see the left United States. I think it's Africa.
Africa's right here. The U.S. is there.
Right-hand side.
Yeah.
And so that I don't know how that plays into, because they haven't really referenced any Earth or anything like that before this. So I'm wondering if this is something on Earth now, or if this is something that's on another planet. I don't know why they would have the globe on there if this isn't supposed to be somewhere on some sort of a future Earth or something.
And then right here, the large creature.
This seems to be probably the end boss, I would assume. This would be probably something towards the end of the game that you're trying to beat. I assume that's not just a normal creature that you would find.
No, and it looks a lot larger than any other creature that we've seen in Ark.
That we've seen up to this point, yeah. One thing they had in here is like you're flying around in that object, and it looks like you're scanning things.
Yeah, right up here.
Yeah, like in the first before 30 seconds. I'm not sure exactly. I mean, you're scanning an object. That's probably something that you're searching for. Maybe it's
a drone.
Well, but what you're looking at, I mean, perhaps that's some sort of a virus or something that's overtaken and pretty much drove everybody out or killed everybody.
Yeah, this thing here to the left looks like it's like some DNA thing that it's looping.
Yeah, it's like scanning it somehow. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, other than that, I mean, it looks like you've got some of the regular stuff that you would expect from Ark.
Some type of magnet storm going on here, causing this compass to fly back and forth, which we would assume is that large monster.
Yeah, so it's for some reason, and then perhaps that's, when you get to a certain point, and that's your indicator that something is going to happen. They have some sort of robots in this one as well.
Yeah, you're talking about these little things right there.
Yeah, so this one's kind of hinting at more of an electronic something. This is why I would think it would be more futurish type of scenario. But these are some sort of mechanical things that look like they're man-made. Possibly were used to protect whatever city you're in. Who knows? So, I mean, I'm sure that's the story, and hopefully this one has more story.
Yeah,
because that's one thing that's always driven me crazy about Ark is, okay, well, what happened? And being that this is going to be their final DLC, are things going to be answered more in this? I would hope so, but who knows? We thought they were going to do that last time, and they didn't.
So that's Ark Extinction. It is out November 6th on all platforms: PS4, Xbox One, and PC. If you've got Season Pass, it's free. If not, how much is their DLC? $10, $15?
They've had it on sale. Let me see if it's still on sale, because they have the Season Pass for like $10.
Oh, okay. But that'll be available to pick up in November, which isn't that far away. So we can expect that around end of the year.
Yeah. So I can't. Let's see. I can't see. It is on sale though.
Okay.
So the Season Pass is $7.64 is what I can see.
That's because you own other parts.
That's because I own
it.
Right?
I can check. I don't
own the whole thing.
I don't own any of it. So I'll take a look.
All right. So because for me it says it's 83% off, but I don't know if that's
okay. I'll take a look here because I don't own it.
It might be on sale. Who knows?
All right. So what else do you want to? You want to cover these other updates real quick?
Yeah. So they did have 280.114. It's been a little while since we've seen an update. This is the archaeology event. What they want you to do is go and scavenge for fossils. And so this is kind of leading up to this announcement. but you'll find mounds that are spawning around the map. And so you look for these, and inside you will find fossils that you can use to craft skins. And so this runs from from the 15th of June to the 15th of July. So this one you have longer than usual. Usually they do something like a 3-day weekend event, or they'll do something that's like a week or two. So this one you have a full month to be able to play, and you can activate it in single player if you would like to. But you can activate, let's say you have a multiplayer server, you can activate it on there with a command that they give you in the notes. They have a skin for the Brontosaurus, the Apache, the Trike, the Dialo. They have skins for all of those, and then they will be bringing up past skins that they've already made. So those are 4 new skins, and then they'll have some skins for previous dinosaurs that they've already released on there. They did say they reworked the Fortitude, and so the thresholds for being knocked out has been increased. They increased the natural insulation from Fortitude by 8%. They did change some rules for tribes. They did adjust the tech recs a little bit. And then, they did an update for the Primitive Plus. Just adjustments, a few tweaks here and there. They did also updated Ragnarok. So there are some optimizations on there. So if you do play Ragnarok, you might notice a little bit of performance increase on that. Then they did 280.115, which is a small little update, fixed bug causing archaeology bones to disappear after restart. So now usually, you release something like that. They found a little bug, did a little hot fix after that, but that is the current.
And just look this up quickly. So Ark, the Ark Survival Evolved Season Pass is 50% off. It's $22.50. Okay. And that includes all 4 of the items, all 4 of the DLC items. So if
what do you mean 4?
It says includes 4 items: Aberrations,
is that it?
Extinction, Scorched Earth, and Ark Survival Evolved Season Pass.
Okay, so it's okay. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
that's weird.
Yeah, that's how it labels it. I don't know, but the season pass is 20. It's normally $45. It's $25 right now. It's 50% off. So if feel so inclined, you can go ahead and get that. Well, you can't get it now, but you will be able. You get the season pass now. You won't be able to get the DLC till November, but it'll be interesting to see now after this what comes, because now we're at that point we're done. I mean, in terms of new deal, they may bring out another. They said they're doing 4. They may do another for the hell of it, but I guess maybe.
Well, I mean, they said 3, so I would assume that they're going to be doing some other type of a project. I mean, this would be the perfect time for them
to move off,
for the studio to move on and to go to something else rather than sit here and dwell. I mean, this is their one main title.
Yeah, so we'll have a couple more months of Ark tweaks and updates, but I would assume come Q1 of next year, we may not hear a whole lot from the Ark team. So
and they did release their mobile version.
Yes, they did.
It is free. So I put a link in the show notes for that if you want to go and download it. But that's the link for the Google Play Store. I would have to look up the iTunes one. But I
would recommend people give this a try. It's kind of cool to play a game like Ark, which is super advanced, and there's so many little meta game mechanics that are built into it. It's kind of cool to play that on mobile. It is free. I would highly recommend you install it and try it. I had a lot of fun when I played it. Unfortunately, couldn't talk a whole lot about it because it was under under beta. You couldn't talk about it, so I just decided not to talk about it really at all. But it's kind of fun. It's not the full game, but it is neat to see. For me, it seems more like a concept than anything else. I don't think anybody's legitimately playing Ark mobile hardcore. But I think this kind of shows, if anything, the power of the Unreal Engine, that they took a game like Ark, which is so freaking complicated. I'm not saying that in a bad way, but just so complicated with its mechanics, and shrunk it down into a game that for the most part is playable on a smartphone. I think that speaks more to the engine than it does Ark or anything else. I think that's really cool that something like that's even possible.
Yep. And you saw how smoothly Fortnite went to mobile.
Yeah.
PUBG went to mobile very smoothly. and now Ark has gone to mobile. So I mean, honestly, that's pretty incredible, as you said, because those are they're PC level games that are barely simple made simplified.
Like
they're very close to the original PC game,
like,
as close as you can get.
Like Mojang had a real problem trying to port a game like Minecraft to the Xbox. I remember this on the Xbox 360. It was a big deal about how to port Minecraft, which comparison to Ark is incredibly simple.
Well, if you look at, I have Minecraft on my mobile.
Yeah.
And that is just
awful.
It's too simplified. Like they took out too many of the features and it's just boring to play.
Yeah. Ark is hard. I mean, it's legit.
They could do, I mean, imagine if it was on Unreal, they could port Minecraft over pretty much identically to the mobile.
Yeah. So it's kind of cool to see how that plays out. It's free. Give it a try. I'll reinstall it this week and play around with it maybe a little more. Last time I did build a base. I didn't have the balls to try to knock anything out and tame it because I knew I was probably going to die trying to knock it out. But I built a little base and would run in and log out when things would get too close to me. So like a good Ark player that I am, I tried playing it. So check that out, Ark Mobile, and then the DLC out November 6th of this year.
All right. Well, how about we do our interview, because then that'll give us enough time to make sure we have some time afterwards to be able to discuss some things, and we don't get caught up on something else and feel like we have to stop to do the interview. So I think this would be a good time to do our interview that we recorded here this past week. We recorded it last week, but with all the E3 news, it was really, we didn't want to cut this short. And we had so much to cover last week that we didn't want to cut out some of the topics that we discussed last week as well. So,
all right, well,
but it's a very good interview. I enjoyed speaking with him.
Yeah, here is it's about a 30-minute interview here with Erik, who is never mind. We do the introduction of the video. Here's our interview with Erik from Conan Exiles. Hey guys, welcome back. We are sitting here with somebody that is not a new person on the show. We've interviewed him twice, I believe, on the show, and once in person at PAX East last year. And that is Erik, the community manager for Conan Exiles over at Funcom. Jens,
hello.
How the heck are you?
I am doing very well, thank you. And I'm stumbling in my words the second I open my mouth.
Oh, I mean, I just botched that intro real good. So that's part of
we
this
stumble
podcast.
and English is our first language, so I wouldn't be too concerned.
Brian Aldridge, of course, is here with me as well. We're going to sit here and have a little bit of a conversation about the launch of Conan Exiles, which officially launched May 8th, 2018, which was something that I remember when we had you on the show originally after the game had launched. You made it very clear that with the kind of the scene of early access is we are actually going to release this game, unlike what we see with a lot of other games, which is early access forever, patch notes every week kind of thing. So what was the process like internally of you guys getting this game out to production launch?
Well, in terms of like budgets and stuff, we had set aside like 1 year of early access, and it became 1 year and change because we launched in January 2017, and then we decided again to launch the game in full in May. But like that is what we had set out to do, and we were like, can we do it in that year? And we realized that we think we can, and like we had to make some cuts, unfortunately, and all the things that we wanted to do, but I think it turned out for the better because it allowed us to focus on a lot of the really good like core concepts of the game, basically. Like the combat, for example. Like we wanted to have really good combat, and people told us from the very beginning, like, hey, this isn't good enough. But so we decided to, okay, well, we're going to buckle down on combat. We're going to buckle down on like the main things that we think is worth it to give to players, essentially. And so it was an interesting time, at least for me, who's never worked on this side of the games industry before and like be a part of this thing for 2 years. But it's been really fun. It's been really fun.
So what was the launch like? It's been about a month now since the game launched. Launch day? I can imagine launch day inside of a company is quite chaotic. Anything memorable that where people with papers flowing out of filing cabinets and computers exploding kind of thing? What was launch day like internally?
It was like for me at least, it was surprisingly similar to every other working day I'd had for the previous 2 weeks, like leading up to launch, because I'd been working, I think like 2 weeks worth of weekdays, 2 weeks, and I had like 10, 12 hours of work every day. And then, of course, once the game launched, we there was some, like, we had some cake, and we had some champagne and stuff, and like we tried to like toast the game and celebrate a bit. And then I was just standing there like stressing the hell out because like, oh shit, is the patch coming out too soon? Is it coming out too late? What's going on? Where are the servers? Are the servers coming in? Are players able to connect? Like I had all these like questions running through my head at the same time, stressing like crazy. And then we were also going to do a launch stream, like me and Nicole and Andy, the community managers from the US, who've been flown in to be a part of the launch. So I think for everyone else, it was like, oh, yay, super fun. We've launched a game. Woohoo. And for me, it's like, oh, my God, we're launching a game.
So what kind of feedback have you gotten from the community? Because I know personally inside with the player base that we have, they've noticed a huge change from what it was originally to what you launched with. What kind of feedback have you gotten from that community?
Well, we did the big combat update and like the combat and purge update back in April, and that is when we really noticed that okay, we've flipped the switch now. Like players are really responding to some of the things that we've changed, and like everyone who came back to the game said that oh yeah, it's much better now in terms of bugs that we'd fixed and just like the general feel of the game and how we had not necessarily rebuilt everything, but we'd remade like the really good core concept into something even better. And going into launch, that was also the main feedback that we got. Like, unfortunately, there were some like negative and constructive feedback that came in as well, which is how it is always. Like, there were some bugs that still needed to be fixed, and we're still working on like smoothing out some of the more rougher edges, because there are going to be more patches, there are going to be more hotfixes, there are going to be more updates coming down the line. But like what we're seeing right now is that people really like the core stuff that's in there, but there's some rough edges that need filing off, basically.
Now, you had a developer stream here a couple Fridays ago when you were going over some numbers and some statistics, and the number was brought up 1.4 million copies sold. Is that since launch or since launch of early access?
That is what we announced when we launched out of early access. So like at that point, we had sold 1.4 million copies. I don't have a specific number for like our current number of sales, but like that is the number we said at the time, at least. Now, and that is, of course, on across all platforms.
Now, without getting into obviously some of the more internal stuff, which I'm sure is secret inside of the company, is that a number that Funcom is happy with? Was there when this project was launched just about a year and a half ago, was this a number that we were striving for? Is this above, below expectations? What does that number mean to you guys internally?
Like, we just wanted the game to do well, because like it's been mentioned a couple of times before, but Conan Exiles is the game that saved Funcom. Like, we were very close to having to shut down before we launched Conan Exiles out in early access, and it did really well in early access. And it's done really well for us, like during the year of early access as well. And so I think that it's one of the most profitable games that Funcom has had in Funcom's 25-year history. And so that is really amazing for us. And like when I heard those news, I was like, really? Like, we've been around for so long. How is that possible? But it has been really good for us. And like we know that we have a success on our hands, and we know that like this is something that we should take extra special care of, because it has been such a savior for us.
Well, and I think it's obvious the success. Looking at the current players, which is something we typically do on the show every week.
Sure.
Your player base has. I'm looking at the SteamDB info chart as we're speaking right now. The player base has stuck with the game since the May 8th launch, which is
absolutely
shocking. And not just because of your game, but just in general, it's shocking. You see these crazy high peaks, and then it seems like in a lot of games, the most recent example is a game like Radical Heights, which was just shut down, falls right off the edge of a cliff. It's just gone. You go from 60,000 players one week to 5,000 the next. What is it specifically that you think has been able to hold the player base now over for a month, which I think is incredible?
Oh God, there's a lot. Like I think combat specifically has been a really good draw, especially that we've been able to say like, hey, the combat is completely new and it's completely different, and it is the best melee combat in the genre. But I think also for me personally, I really like building, and we see our community make some really incredibly amazing things with the game's building system, and not just like castles that are stuck on the ground. Like we had in the dev stream that you mentioned, we showed off someone who had basically built the Western Air Temple from Avatar: The Last Airbender with like it looked like cocoons that were basically hanging down from like a giant stone archway. And like the fact that players are able to be so creative and so expressive with the building system, I think is a huge draw. And also we have a really well crafted world. Like the world map is big, but it's not too big. So like you can get to most of the hidden places fairly easily. And it's a world that it invites exploration. Like we want you to look through all the little nooks and crannies that you can find and see what you can uncover basically. And of course, I think it also helps that we have a hint of a story, and we're going to be at least try to maybe expand on that a little bit going down the line. I think that also helps players to sort of get stuck in the game. Like they can dig through the lore, they can dig through the backstory, they can go out, they can find NPCs and talk to. They can find Conan and talk to him if they want to. They can go out and buy stuff from merchants from the neutral NPC city. And so we've pivoted the game in a direction that sets it apart from a lot of other survival games.
One thing I've noticed is that there's, as you're kind of speaking to, a lot of content. That's something that when we first played, I mean, when it was not launched, but when you first released initially, we kind of played through and we hit a wall of content. We hit what you guys had created up to that point. And as a large group, they were like, okay, then what do we do? So we had a lot of people stop playing, and we started up a private server here after you launched. And I told a number of people, I said, just play until you get past that content that we had seen initially. So you can start seeing some new stuff, because it seemed like there was so much content that you guys have added to the game. And we've got guys that are just still playing it every day now. I mean, they've been playing for weeks, and they put posts in our Discord of, oh, I'm working to get this next thing. Oh, I just found this thing. And it's like, there's always something new. And it seems like if people will take the time and really dive into this game, it's got so much there. And so I think that you guys have done a very good job of, I talk about on our podcast all the time. Some people tease me about, I call time sinks. You need a lot of time sinks in this in games. And most of them don't do that. They fall short on that. And I think you guys have really delivered, and it shows, because our community is still playing it. We probably have guys in there right now.
There are people, I just checked, there are people in the Discord audio channel. There's 3 of them in there playing in the Conan Exiles channel right now.
And they've been doing that for weeks. So
nice.
Which is really cool. So,
that's really good to hear. Yeah.
Well, and I think that's the sentiment across most of the internet with this. You and I were talking before we started the recording here about the feedback from the community on one of your most recent community streams, and even just in general on Twitter and on Reddit. Feedback seems pretty positive. I know at the start it wasn't like that. People were really beating up on you guys at the launch, or the original launch of the early access game, rather, not the launch, not the final release, but the original launch. Have you seen that internally as well? Has the community seem to have lightened up with you guys? Yeah,
absolutely. And like, of course, like I mentioned, there are still some things that we need to take care of, and like I will readily admit that we need to file off some of the rough edges, so to speak. But in general, we started noticing it like right after the combat patch came out in April. Like we were noticing that like Twitch streamers are coming back, and YouTubers were coming back, and people were writing more about it on Twitter, on Facebook, on Reddit, and like people were starting to post, instead of posting bugs, they were starting to post screenshots, and it was it's the simple things. It was I definitely started noticing it, because it's my job to notice it, and I just started telling people like, hey, I think people are coming back now. I think that helped the developers to realize that like we should, like, now we really need to power on, and now we really need to take care of this thing.
Yeah, I would imagine that negative. I've never worked inside of a game studio, but I would imagine that negative energy that is on social media and just kind of around the game probably does impact the development team, especially you saying it's literally your job to take the abuse of these people day in and day out. But I would imagine that's pretty disheartening inside of a studio if you believe you're making a good product and you've just got the community beating the hell out of you, 24/7. So that's good to hear that that's turned around and that the developers and stuff are feeling positive about seeing some of those comments rather.
Yeah, and I like, as the community manager, I also made it a point to say that, hey, players are coming back, players are really liking it, and because it is really easy to let that negative stuff bother you. It's really easy to notice the negative stuff rather than the positive stuff because it hits you much harder. And for me, at least, try as a way to like try to keep people motivated and try to like, not that we were like desperate or anything, like we weren't like we weren't depressed or anything, but like I think it's good to like hammer home the fact that like, hey, yeah, people really like this. People are coming back. Like we have something here.
Absolutely.
Now, speaking of coming back, you guys announced somewhat of a DLC coming. Can you explain what DLC they can expect, and also maybe some updates? I know because you kind of have a difference between those.
Yeah, we recently announced that we were going to do, like, we recently announced a roadmap basically, and what we said we were going to do is we were going to have major updates, we're going to have minor updates, and we're going to have paid cosmetic DLC. So the minor updates is essentially gameplay systems that need to be fleshed out more. So we're going to do some additional updates to archery, for example, by adding a power shot. We're going to be doing special arrows so you can have more archery options in combat. We're going to be adding in offhand combos to make things more tactical when you're fighting different enemies. We're adding in item usage animations, like when you heal or drink a potion, like you have to actually go through the animation before the healing takes effect. We're also going to be, so like that is like the quality of life, like game balancing updates, and that includes like bug fixes. And I'm banging the microphone now. That includes bug fixes and optimization work and all that kind of stuff. And then there's the major updates, which the things that we've announced so far is taming and a pets system, which I'm not going to go into a lot of details, but it is a taming and pets system. And then like we will show that off to people at a later date. We've also announced a couple of new dungeons, one of which will be explicitly tied to the pet system. So that's also going to be really cool and interesting, I think. And then of course we're going to be adding in the final religion in the game, because we initially launched with a character selection of, I think it was, we had 4 gods available, and then we added 2 more. And then there was still one that we need to add, and that is the Lord of Beasts, Jebal Sog. So that's going to be a whole new religion, new altars, pet-focused religious items, and then like the avatar of the god himself. And finally, the cosmetic DLC is something we're doing to basically keep the light on for the game, because it is a game that you buy once and then you own it, and well, servers cost money. That is essentially how capitalism works. So we decided like, hey, we want to do cosmetic DLC. We don't want to lock any gameplay systems or mechanics behind DLC, because that is it's not great for players and it creates an imbalance. And so we have announced the Imperial East Pack, which is inspired by Kitai in Hyboria, which is very like Chinese, Japanese inspired. There's some work in progress sketches up on our dev blog at ConanExiles.com. And it's going to be 3 armor sets. It's going to be new placeables. It's going to be new weapons. There's going to be some decorative war paints and a whole new set of tier 3 building pieces. And so all the armors and all the weapons are going to be of the same tier as other things in the game. All the weapons are of the iron tier. The armors are of the light, medium, and heavy tier. And of course, then the building pieces will be tier 3 building pieces. And you'll unlock those at the appropriate levels. So we wanted to do something. We wanted to do DLC that doesn't affect gameplay balance, but also like shows the game off from its like it shows the game off in a good way, like, because we have some amazing character artists working on this game who are able to make some really cool weapons, some really cool armor, some really cool building pieces, and we wanted to let those guys shine and like really like put their best foot forward.
Something that we talked about extensively on the show and showed off, and I've got to ask you whose idea this was, because I think this is one of the greatest things I've ever seen, was this launch infographic that you guys produced. The simplicity of this and how it shows the numbers of resources that were available to start and weapons and armor and all this other stuff. Whose idea was this? This is incredible.
My chief marketing officer, Erling, he really likes infographics. So it was in the beginning, like, it was his idea, and then we were trying to figure out, okay, what kind of stats can we draw from the game? Because like you see a lot of these in MMOs where people like, where they list like, oh, you've killed 1 million enemies, you've looted this amount of gold, you've walked these amount of miles, and you've ridden these amounts of miles, etc. And so we were like, okay, what kind of information can we draw from the game? And we're like, okay, why not just say what we've added, like say how much the game has changed, say how much bigger it is. And then the crafting of the infographic itself was is a guy named Daniel, who's our graphic designer.
Well, and I think
like
that
he's made all our websites and all the graphic stuff.
I think that something like that infographic is something that every early access game that does, that starts from one spot, and in your case started with the game as you talked about the last time we had you on the show. Actually, I think it was the first time. It was there wasn't a whole lot to do once you hit that early wall of content, and to see this graphic that shows, I mean, the amount of placeables from 100 to almost 300, the building pieces from 21 to 195. I mean, that's incredible. And most developers, I think, would just throw this on a some website, oh, hey, we added 195 new building components since launch. But just something about the presentation of this graphic, I think, is just incredible. And I hope other early access developers take this and run with it, because I think this is a winning strategy right here.
Yeah, like we did a good hire when we hired Daniel. Like, he is really good at this web stuff and at the graphic design stuff. Like he made all the like, he made the Conan Exiles website. He designed the Conan Exiles blog. He made the website for Mutant Year Zero, which is the game that we're publishing during 2018 for a crew over in Sweden. So like he really knows his stuff when it comes to these things.
I've got to say a word that is not kindly taken on the internet these days. It starts with an L,
all right,
and it's the word loot boxes. What is the status of, for maybe people that didn't catch the last developer stream, what is the status of loot boxes in Conan Exiles?
No loot boxes.
Confirmed.
Yes.
Yay!
And it's like, and the internet rejoices over just no loot boxes. What's the why not? I mean, it's a popular strategy. We talked a couple weeks ago of Epic made, well, how much, Brian? $340 million in skins just in the month of April.
Crazy.
In Fortnite?
Yes, in Fortnite. So, I mean, why not do?
Don't take that information back and start pitching it, please, Nick. You might be causing something bad here.
But why? I mean, why not? Why not go the loot box strategy? There's clearly some money to be made in that market, even though that most people on the internet are vocal saying they don't like loot boxes. But we see these staggering statistics, these crazy numbers. Why not?
On a personal level, I don't think it fits with the genre, really. Like, it fits in with more competitive games, like in Overwatch, like in Fortnite, like in PUBG, for example. But personally, I don't think it fits with a game like this. And like I said, if we wanted to do DLC, we wanted to do something that was like a bit grander than just like having people grind out for loot boxes. And it was like, I think at least that it's easier for us to have character artists. This is just me like speculating, because this isn't something I've been told to. This isn't company line or anything. This is me speculating. It's easier to have our character artists make something for like one pack, and like that is the one pack that they're making, and then like once they're done with that, they're going to do another pack and then another pack, rather than just like split all that up into like randomized loot boxes and then having to make a whole system of charging for it. Like, will they be able to earn these things in game or not? Do they only have to pay for like one crate? Do they pay for one item? Like, how much do we charge for one set of armor? How much do we charge for two sets of armor? Like one sword, one, like, et cetera, et cetera. Like, this is a much easier way of just like, here's a pack. It costs X amount of dollars. You get this. Done.
I like that. I think that's a good strategy.
Yeah.
Now, one thing, you guys have modding in
Yes.
Conan Exiles, correct? So is that something too, you don't want to have people saying, oh, well, rather than buy that, I'm just going to put a mod in here and, we'll run a private server. I would assume that the fact that you have the ability as a player to make something, put it in game, that allows them to you can have the community kind of do some of that stuff for you. Have you guys had an uptick in the modding since release? Have you guys looked at those numbers, or is it something that's pretty much not taken off yet?
I haven't looked at those specific numbers, but we do have some really good mods that have been made during early access and are still being made, like the Pippi server mod, for example, which in my opinion is pretty much a must for a lot of server admins because it lets you do some really cool stuff. But we do also see people adding in their own armors, adding in their own systems, adding in their new weapons, etc., etc. There was one guy during early access who just put a bunch of Skyrim weapons into the game because he really liked Skyrim, and so he remade them and just like put them in there. And like, we want to encourage modding as much as possible, and if people want to do their own stuff on their own servers, that is 100% okay on our end.
And that seems like that's something that really keeps a game alive, even after there's some games that haven't had updates in I don't know how long.
Yeah.
But because of the modding community, there's still people purchasing the game, and there's still people playing it on a weekly basis, just because they have that ability to make the game their own. And I assume that kind of takes some of the load off from the community of people harassing you guys to put in the most random things into the game, because, okay, well, you guys don't have to do it. But if you have a modder who's willing to, they can put it in. You can do that on your own. It saves from polluting the game a little bit, I would think.
A little bit, but like we don't want to offset like everything to the moderators, of course. Like there was a thing where we added a farming system, for example, and then people just said like, oh, were you just ripped off this farming mod? Like, why didn't you just hire this guy? And like the answer to that is like, some things we want to do on our own, and some things we will not allow. That's a bad word to use, but like some, like, we'll let the community do what they want in terms of modding, and then if we want to do something that's similar, we'll put our own spin on it, basically.
Yeah, and own that and own that, facilitate that all in house, which that's why you pay developers to make things for the games. Yeah. We're sitting here with Jens Erik, who is the community manager for Conan Exiles over at Funcom. He's joining us here on the program. You've been mentioning another game that you guys are publishing. What's the details on that for people that haven't been following that?
It is called Mutant Year Zero: Road to Eden. It is based on the pen and paper RPG called Mutant Year Zero, which was quite recently translated into English, I think, a couple of years back at least. And it's been part of it hasn't been part of our portfolio for very long, but like we got together with the guys who own the rights to it and decided to put together a new company called Heroic Signatures. So Funcom owns, I think it's like 50% of Mutant Year Zero and a bunch of other like old Swedish pen and paper RPGs. And there was a company in Malmö in Sweden who really wanted to make a Mutant Year Zero game. And they came to us, they pitched to us, and we were like, yeah, all right, this looks really, really cool. It is we're calling it a tactical adventure game, and I'm going to explain what we put in those words in a second. Let's set in a post-apocalyptic, post-human world where mutants and ghouls rule the landscape, and like humans have essentially all but died out. The ones who remain are mutated humans and mutated animals, which is which is what you're playing in this game. And the reason we're calling it a tactical adventure game is that you walk around the map, you walk around in like pre-made areas, and you explore a story. Like, there's a story that you have to go through. But once you're in combat, the game switches into like an XCOM, like old school Fallout turn-based style system of combat. And as your characters level up, as your characters go through their progression systems, they get more abilities and things that you can use in combat to essentially make it more tactical and like do different kinds of decisions as you play.
Very cool.
One thing on this is this. I know you guys did Unreal Engine for Conan.
Yes,
and I think that was Funcom's probably first.
It was our second Unreal game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it? Do you know if this new game is going to be under Unreal Engine, or is
it is also an Unreal game? Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. I'm not sure why. Like, yeah, it is another Unreal game. Yeah.
Okay. Well, and this is something. This is on my watch list. This is ones that I've actually brought up. Mutiny Year Zero on the podcast, and I didn't even know it was your guys' one of your guys' titles. But I was like, this game looks like it's gonna be really cool. The art in it's awesome. The characters. I mean, it's a very unique game.
Yes, absolutely.
Looking on it from the outside, so it'll be interesting to see also what kind of story, because it seems like there's a lot of depth to it. I mean, the whole thing looks like there's a backstory, and I'm the kind of guy who always wants to say, well, how did this happen? Like, how did we get here? And it looks like that's one of those games you get in, and it's like I've got to discover this world. So I'm excited for it.
Essentially, everything happened. There was war, there was famine, there was disease, there was the world was wiped out. And then we're picking up the pieces several hundred years in the future where like they're slowly trying to get stuff together. And it's the guys down in Sweden have been making a world that is like our own, but has a bit of a skewered perspective on it. So for example, there's one sequence where they come to a camp and like a campsite for like for RVs basically, and the campsite's mascot is a giant cartoon moose. And because these guys don't know what a camp mascot is, they immediately assume that, oh, this giant moose must be a demon from the past, worshipped by the people who lived here. Like, so they have these like really interesting interactions with the world, comments on things they don't really understand, but they assume that, like, if they find a boombox and they assume that it's a bomb. Stuff like that.
Cool. And then when did you say, how far out do you think this might be before they?
Well, the release date is set for 2018, and that is what we've set so far. If you've been following the E3 coverage, we've been at the time of this recording, the game has been showed off at the IGN live stream, and they're also going to be showed off at a Twitch live stream and at a Microsoft live stream, like during the week of E3. So we're showing it around, we're shopping around, trying to get more eyeballs and get more people to look at it.
Is that going to be the project that you're going to be moving over to being the community manager for, or?
I'm still going to be like the primary CM on Conan, but I will also be like handling social media stuff and like minor forum stuff for Mutant. But like I've been hired to work on Conan, and I'm still going to be working on Conan until like we consider ourselves 100% done with Conan, and then maybe even beyond that.
Awesome. So I've got to ask you. This is, I think, how we've ended all of the interviews. If somebody's watched this, they've played Conan originally way back in when did you guys launch? 2016, late 2016?
2017, actually.
Early 2017.
January 2017.
So you launched. I played it in January 2017. I played it, enjoyed it, but I haven't played since. What is your pitch to me? The some of the maybe not convinced on everything since then.
Conan Exiles has the best melee combat in any survival game. It has the best world in any survival game. It has one of the best stories in any survival game. It is chock full of content for you to explore and discover. And as I like to say, it is the only game wherein you can crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and hear the lamentation of their women.
Well, that's a way to do it. Jens,
quite the draw.
That's absolutely quite the draw. Jens Erik, the community manager for Conan Exiles. Jens, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, and that was our interview with Jens Erik of Conan Exiles Funcom. Appreciate his time, making some time to do the show here. The one thing that he stressed a lot, Brian, during that interview was the melee combat, and this is the third time now that I sat through the interview. I watched it again pre-show, and now this is the third time I've watched it now. It got me thinking, and thinking of all these other games, nobody really has done good melee. Ark's melee combat is a joke. I mean, you try punching these dinosaurs. It's this big, drawn-out swing, and the dinosaurs are, kind of fluttering in and out. They really do have a melee combat system that...
with real dodge and...
that nobody else has touched. Nobody else has even tried, I think, real melee combat. H1Z1's melee combat is a joke.
And you look at PUBG, they have their jump punch, but that's not even really... that's something that if you're within a certain range of them and you jump and you punch, you knock them out automatically. I mean, it was a cheap way out. They did it. It's not a real combat system.
Yeah.
It's just a mechanic. It's just you jump. This one, you have the ability to roll back. You can roll aside. You have all these different lunges and attacks you can do. They've gone through and really made it something that's something you can get good at.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing.
Because there is a method to it. There's a method to the madness in melee. There is those rolls inside. There's a way to combat, way to fight with the alligators and stuff like that are in the game. So I thought that was that really didn't sink in here the first couple times that I watched it. Was nobody else has even attempted melee combat. PH is saying, he's talking about something else, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head that has halfway decent melee combat out of the games that we I'm looking through the list of games here that we've talked about in the past 2 weeks. I don't count a game like Fallout or The Last of Us. Their melee it's different. I mean, those are scripted on path. Fallout not so much, but The Last of Us is a scripted on path game, so it's a little bit different.
Well, in this new one, they showed that video for The Last of Us, and I don't know how much that was cutscene versus real combat. So, I mean, that's the hard part about those is usually the combat is very scripted. Like you get locked into a sequence and you're doing a swing and it's going to hit a certain way. Yeah, this is very fluid.
It is very fluid. And they also have that crazy climb system, which I don't even think he mentioned, which no other game has. You can literally scale almost anything in the game, which is great early game.
With PUBG, they came up with something kind of similar, but still this, you can actually crawl up walls. It's part, cool. It's part of they're expecting you to try to crawl up things and try to get in any area. And PUBG is more of, you can go through you can maybe get up on top of a ledge. You can vault over a car, but you're not really climbing anything.
Yeah, and it's important early game, which is what which I played in Conan because I was playing solo on the public server. Thank you, Firebomb, for cheers and a couple of cheers during the interview. That we're not going to cut Jens Erik off to thank you for the cheers, but we appreciate those. It's super important early game because you don't have the weapons to actually fight back with some of these.
It helps you to run away from it.
I mean, literally, I find myself going up and getting jumped by. I'll be attacking one alligator, and I know it's going to be a very close fight, and I get him killed, and I've got a little bit of health left, and another one comes. My solution is to climb up on top of a rock, but I would be dead. I'm dead any other way because I don't have the stamina to run and I don't have the health to reheal or a place to go. So it really does come in helpful super early on. So you're looking at melee system that nobody else has even attempted really, and then this climbing system, which again, Ark doesn't have any sort of climbing system whatsoever. To their detriment.
Pretty intricate building system as well. I mean,
yes,
they really looked at each area. I mean, he had mentioned during that interview a base, and I had seen pictures of it, and it's actually hanging on the bottom of a cliff. So, of one of those giant bridges. So on the bottom of the bridge, someone built a base upside down that's hanging like a honeycomb in a way from it. And that's their base. Now, this is something they're doing in single player kind of Minecraft style as far as flying around and placing them. But, having the ability to do that, I mean, look at H1Z1's building system that we used for so long.
Yeah.
And we kept complaining about how limited it was. And then you had games like Ark, which would let you build giant bases. A lot of these more recent games, they've really expanded these building systems, and you can make some pretty intricate bases. So that's something that they've done in here as well. We talked about how many building pieces they've added. They got hundreds of building pieces now that you can use, from decorations to wall pieces. They also have the modding system, which allows you to even get more custom pieces similar to what you can do in Ark.
It's very impressive. As he said, and we'll continue to say, go check out Conan Exiles. It's been out about a month. We are actually running our own server. And the cool thing about Conan Exiles is you can play alone even on a public server. That's how I've decided I want to play, and that's how I've been playing is alone on a public server. So you can do that. And all the information, all the details for that are in our Discord, and all that information is on our website, infectionpodcast.com. All right, Brian. You want to announce we're about an hour in, announce a giveaway?
Yes. All right. So I'm going to be giving away, let me go ahead and start raffle here. So this will be a 60-point raffle, exclamation point giveaway as always. So just type that in chat. And if you've been listening for an hour or watching for an hour, you will have enough to do this. We're going to be giving away a copy of NBA Playgrounds. And this is a basketball game, not exactly survival, but NBA Playgrounds. This is a basketball sports multiplayer arcade co-op game. So
it's new too. It's only been out since May of last year.
Yeah, and it's kind of like the old NBA Jam in a way.
Yeah, which is a fun game. NBA Jam is a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's kind of in that style. So if you want to enter for that exclamation point giveaway, and then we'll give it away here right before the end of the show.
Absolutely. And if you are maybe listening to this after the fact, maybe you tuned in for our interview with Jens Erik, you can tune in live every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on our Twitch channel or on YouTube Live. Those links are on our website, or you can check out twitch.tv/infection podcast. Brighton, we got a list of games here. Throw a dart and pick one. Where are we going?
All right, let's go ahead and start here at the top. And this is something that we didn't talk about last week.
I right after we finished recording last week, I said to Brian, "Damn it, we forgot the game that we couldn't forget, and we forgot it. But it's going to work out anyway."
So actually, do you want to just, before you even say this, do you want to roll into the video intro?
Yeah, give me a minute here. Sorry.
All right. So this is a game that we hadn't mentioned, but we have been talking about it for a little while.
Yes, and this was a product of E3. I think I said on the show, not even post show, that it was inevitable that we were going to forget something, and we did. So here's the teaser for Mavericks Proving Grounds. All right, that's Mavericks Proving Grounds. This is something that you've mentioned in the past. We've talked about it on the show, and this, I would say, out of all of the games coming out of E3 2018, this is the game that is the closest to
most in our wheelhouse.
Most in our wheelhouse. Obviously, Fallout 76 looks like it's going to be very close to our wheelhouse. We don't have all the details yet, but Mavericks Proving Grounds seems to hit the nail pretty much right on the head. How about a little background for people? Can you give us a quick summary of this?
Yeah. So this is a game that is, this is pretty much a very large battle royale. It's more like an MMO battle royale. They're going to be having this on Spatial OS, which is for those who maybe are new or don't recall us talking about it before. This is pretty much a server system that a lot of upcoming games are starting to use because it kind of gets past that single server limitation. I mean, if you look at a game like PUBG, you look at even any of these games that are running 100 players, the reason that they're running 100 players is mostly because of server limitations. That's about what they can get, that many players running consecutively on the type of hardware that they have in these data centers running correctly.
Yeah.
And so here they're looking at Spatial OS, which spans out a lot of the workload across multiple computers. It's kind of like having a gaming server in the cloud, I guess is how you could think of it. I remember when we had interviewed one of the developers for Ark, and he had said, really, honestly, for an Unreal Engine server, you really just need, like a dual core with a high gigahertz rating. And that is the best way to run these servers. And so just because of how the servers are built, they don't work well with multi-core and all these different things they're not made for that. So this is kind of allowing them to design a game and wanting to spread out the load and designing it in a different way that allows them to get a lot more people on, to where you could have hundreds of people, maybe even in a more small area, or to have very vast worlds and having it spread the load across all these servers. So that's what they're looking at doing with this. We haven't seen a lot of games with Spatial OS, a lot of upcoming games with Spatial OS. So this will be kind of one of the first ones that I think I'll have played that has Spatial OS. And so I'm trying not to get my hopes. I've seen so much hype, and
I know.
we've seen this hype before for other games. This is something that I'm trying to keep it realistic, because that way I'm happy when it releases if I'm realistic about what the game will be.
You're managing expectations.
Yes, and that's something that on this they've talked about, and part of this is them. They're talking about, all right, we're leaving all these limitations behind. Part of it, a lot of it's because Spatial OS. We're leaving the limitations of things having a limited amount of things in the environment. Let me just run through some of the things that they've claimed they're going to have in this new one. They've talked about having fires that will spread. You can start a fire somewhere and it will spread. This has been something that they have in Far Cry, but that's not a big multiplayer online game. It's been something that they've been able to do in single player games and in very controlled environments. But there's a lot of information happening when a fire happens. And so this is one of the things that they're claiming is no longer going to be a limitation with Spatial OS. So if you start a fire somewhere, someone else will be able to see that fire happening at the same time. Also, you may have noticed in the trailer, they showed having going from a snow scene to a fire scene, which looked like it was in kind of the same zone. So I don't know if that's going to be true dynamic weather or seasons. Maybe there will be, or if that was something they just did for the trailer, just to kind of show off, they created a transition. But they do show very different environments. One thing that they will be doing, you can see this in games right now, but it is expensive as far as the server tracking all of these things and transmitting it. And that's why Spatial OS is supposed to fix this. But let's say you have a set of footprints. Generally, what you'll do is you will fade those footprints out pretty quickly on a multiplayer game.
Very quickly.
Because when you make a footprint, then the server's first of all having to track that. then when anyone comes into that zone, it has to transmit that information to them. It's like having, any kind of object in the world. They have to track exactly the position and the facing, all the information about each of those footprints. And it gets very expensive if you're having 100 people having footprints at the same time across the server. So that's something that generally people give up. So this is something that you should be able to see here. You'll see a set of footprints going off into the distance, and you can actually track someone. Maybe if it's in mud or something like that. Personally, having worked on games and been working on games, I can tell you all these things are possible. And they are giving up some of these limitations, but it'll be interesting to see if Spatial OS can truly live up to what these guys are thinking it will. That's my concern, is how much network traffic, because that's something people's internet is not getting better because of Spatial OS.
Yes.
The server has the ability to track all these things and to send this information. But if you are having to have a 10 megabit stream constantly of information going to your computer, then that's a problem. I mean, they'll be doing a high amount of okay, is this person within view, having a relevant system, that will be probably relied on very heavily with the server. And so, but the server maybe having more capacity will be able to do that. But that's something I'm still waiting to see if because these guys are still developing it. It's one thing to say it. It's another thing to deliver it.
Yeah. And I mean, that's kind of, it's unfortunate. Well, maybe it's not. It's unfortunate that we have this attitude, but anybody that has, maybe somebody's new to the program is thinking, oh God, you guys are sure beating up on the Mavericks people or the Spatial OS people. We have seen so many freaking technologies and architectures and how this is how we're going to do this and this is how we're going to do that.
Yep.
We saw games at PAX last year that were promoting Spatial OS that we have not heard a peep about. One of the games was actually a space game unrelated to it being built in Spatial OS. It was kind of like a Lego space game, like a blocky Lego space game. I don't remember if you remember those people, Brian. And their big thing was, we are on Spatial OS, and I haven't heard anything about them.
I would think that like a company that really could take advantage, and who knows, maybe this will be, but Elite Dangerous would be the perfect Spatial OS type of a game.
Yes, it would be.
Because Elite Dangerous right now the thing is, it's so huge, but it's not made to go and find someone else and see people constantly. You're seeing a lot when you're seeing things at spaceports and things like that. That is AI. Now the thing is the world is so big. What was that game that you bought that said such an unlikely
no man play something like that? No man's going to ever play this game. I lied about it being multiplayer. No Man's Sky.
They were claiming it was going to be multiplayer, but the chances that you would run into somebody were so minute. But the thing is they were so minute that they didn't bother putting that feature in.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess when you get to a world that's that big, you have to have so many players to really make it valuable. But this, if they claim that you're going to have a 500 to 1,000 man VR, or it's not even going to be VR. I think it'll be more probably like, what's the game that Daybreak puts out?
PlanetSide?
That's the PlanetSide. It'll be, I have a feeling it'll be more like PlanetSide 2. You know how in PlanetSide you're running in and you have objectives and everybody's running in and killing each other?
Yeah.
That's kind of like a VR. That's what I kind of view
this being
probably being a modern version of that.
That's a very successful game. Yeah, absolutely. And I like that play style.
I just kind of sense that, because how are you going to do a VR on a persistent kind of more MMO type of a world? It's not really a BR at that point. It's more of a capture objectives. You're going in, maybe they'll have events happening on the server and things like that you're running to, but that's kind of what PlanetSide did anyways.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just kind of what I gather. I look at this and I see, well, this could be a better, more modern working version of PlanetSide. And I would be fine, as you said, you like that. I would be fine with that because it makes more sense for having a huge amount of players. You don't want 1,000 players all converging on one spot all the time.
That would not make a good, I don't think that would make a good.
And how are you going to, I mean, the thing is, look at bandwidth. How are you going to track 1,000 players? Let's say everybody, just to test the server, they all ran to the same place. Most people's internet connections wouldn't be able to transfer that amount of information. So I don't know. I'm trying to keep this in perspective. I think it's going to be cool. I actually purchased the Founders Pack.
Oh.
So because I wanted to get in on the alpha so I could talk about it. So I purchased that. It seems like it's going to be more of an MMO subscription style of thing. It's going to be $60 a year. So 12 months is $60.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be a subscription model.
Well, let's have a quick conversation about that. And the reason why I said when we brought this up that it's kind of fortunate that we didn't talk about it last week is because I did want to have a longer conversation about it. Do you believe that there is still room for subscriptions in games in 2018? This was a very popular concept.
You say in 2018, and I'm
putting that out.
But I think that this is going to become more of the norm because
you do
to do things like this. We're finding that all these places are trying to come up with subscription models. Fortnite is doing it with their skins market. That is a subscription service.
It is.
I'm going to be talking in my tip of the week. I'm going to be talking about a game that's also going to more of a subscription model to earn income. The danger that we find is we want to buy a game once, and then we expect them to run servers for the next 10 years to maintain that game. And is that really truly fair? What we find is that games then tend to die out. They tend to quit giving new content. They say the game's done and they just are maintaining servers for a while, and they will kind of want the server to die out because they made their money.
Now, but
they're not going to make more money in the future on it.
But
generally, unless they're pushing skins the whole time.
But I'm going to caution you on that and say that this is not the problem that the consumers have brought forward. These, in some cases, these stupid developers bring their game forward without any idea how long the game is going to be how long the game is going to survive and be profitable. And then the thing that pisses me off is if you get down later in the road and you go, oh, now we're charging a subscription, like that's BS. You know, there was never a concept. Mavericks is being very upfront. They're going back to the Blizzard model from when did WoW come out? 2002. I mean, they're bringing it all the way back to the Blizzard model. You got to pay to play the game. I mean,
well, and the reason that Blizzard does that is because look at how many servers and how much stuff they have to do on a continuing basis.
I got you.
As you get away from, I mean, this is running Spatial OS. I'm not sure how much, you'd have to break down the costs and everything, but for them to do all this, it costs them money to do. It costs them money over time. And so there has to be a way. PH is saying Mavericks is free. You know, it's going to be free, but you get citizenship, which allows you certain things.
Which
WoW
had the same
free
thing.
Up to level 20, I think.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, you could play a level 20 forever if you wanted to. So I think that this is the way that it is going to, because we expect very big, robust games. We want servers that are reliable, that are fast, and if the more that we see Spatial OS, the more likely I think we'll start seeing monthly basis things. And we are, as I said, we're seeing it with Fortnite. These companies are realizing that if you want a game to be around in 5 years and you want it to be, updated and have a full development team behind it, there has to be a reliable and consistent source of income. Look at H1Z1. H1Z1 had a drop in their player base, and they went from having a ton of extra money coming in to all of a sudden no money coming in, not enough to support their current development team, and so they ended up laying off a huge number of their people. And so I think that companies are looking at, okay, we will keep, probably what they'll do on this is, being that it's something you're subscribing to, it will probably be kept more current than other games. They will probably be treating it like they're constantly developing and adding new content and making it better, just like they do in WoW. WoW is always adding new things. They add big, huge expansion packs that change the whole world every couple of years. And so I think that we've gotten to games like Ark where they make it once, they do make changes to it, but now Ark is pretty much done. Right? It's going to be released. They're putting out their last expansion, and there's going to be no more. How long are servers going to stay up if they're not bringing in any more money? I mean, there's got to be a limited amount of time that they view that as viable.
And I think this is going to be a conversation that we're going to continue to have because it's been a while since I don't think we've ever had this conversation fully on this show. And I'll pose the question to our live chat, people that are watching live right now. I'll post the question to people that are listening on podcast after the fact and people watching on YouTube. Tweet us at @InfectionCast, comment on YouTube. Let's talk about this. I don't know, Brian, if a game with a yearly or monthly subscription can succeed when the mentality is free. And I'm just as guilty as everybody. Believe me, I'm as guilty as I'm not gonna sit here and be a hypocrite. And say, oh, it's incredible that you wouldn't pay for content. I mean, I don't donate to most of the podcasts I listen to. Now, I do to some, but not all of them. I don't subscribe to every single podcast I listen to. I mean, I don't, oh, here's a great shock. I run ad block on YouTube like everybody else. I mean, there is something, and ad block's a little bit different, but there's some type of weird stigma with charging monthly, paying monthly, Patreon, PayPal subscriptions. There's just this weird stigma with it that I think is probably different than what it was in the early 2000s when a lot of the internet was, I mean, Brian, you know this better than anybody else. There was a lot of stuff that you had to pay for, a lot of paid stuff. You don't pay for things. I mean, what was the last thing you paid to have access?
They didn't really have free to play back then.
But not even games, just in general. Like, I'm thinking of what do I pay monthly for on the internet? I pay for my internet service. I pay for Carbonite, which is a backup software.
I mean, people play for Netflix.
I pay for Netflix. I pay for a web server. I don't think I've got any other monthly subscriptions online. I pay for Xbox, I guess.
I mean, this will be $5 a month.
Yeah.
And what it does is it gives you access to the economy stuff, and also some progression mechanics.
Yeah.
And it says a unique ways to showcase players' achievements. So as a citizen, players can use Mavericks currency bits to buy, sell, and trade items in the persistent open world with other citizens, giving you greater opportunity to assemble a personal arsenal to suit your style of play. So it gives you the ability to pretty much trade, buy, and sell items. So I would assume the free to play, they'll limit it down. I mean, the thing is in WoW, even on the free to play, you can't trade items because they want to limit gold sellers and all those things.
Of course, yeah.
So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. This will be one of those games that 6 months after it's released, we'll be looking at it, and at that point, we'll have a true understanding of what it is. But I think right now it's a lot of speculation. You don't know you can't guess how these things are going to take off.
So give me some details, Brian, because I actually don't know. I specifically didn't know because I wanted to ask you this on the show. Should I purchase this? Would you recommend the audience to pre-order this? Well, how much does it cost? What do you get? Why? Why should I do this? We just said the trailer looks pretty badass, but I mean, why should I do this?
All right. So the founders, it pretty much gives you beta access from August to September. Okay. I think they're going to be opening up the beta access after September or in September for everyone. So the only reason that you would really want to get this is if you want access to the beta to try it out early. Okay. Also, it will give you that 12 months of citizenship. So you'll get with this cost, I think it's $29, if I remember correctly, it's like $29, $29.99 maybe. So it's pretty much half price of what 1 year of citizenship will be with at launch. So if you're going to play this and it looks like it'll be a game worth playing at least for a while, right?
Yeah.
That it's going to pay for that first year at half cost regardless. And you'll get access to the beta. You get a few cosmetics, which I'm not really I don't care about cosmetics so much. It'll give you a weapons kit, emote, an icon that you can, it says in-game and website icon /spray, founders posts. So title and golden backgrounds on your posts in their forum. And then you get access to the founders hall, which is a social area in game, and then the forum. So,
all right. Well,
there is no requirement to buy that. I mean, you could wait and just to test it out in September and check out the beta access.
So $29.99 gets you access to the founders. And that information is available at mavericks.gg. I believe they've got a limited number that they're selling.
50,000, if I remember correctly.
50,000. So if you're on the fence, make a decision kind of now. If you're going to be doing that. And yeah, that's founders mavericks.gg. You can head on over there. Yeah. This looks like it's going to be kind of like this is the first time I've actually been interested in like an MMO, which is this is an MMO. I mean that's what this is.
Yeah.
And because we haven't really had a big MMO. I don't think we've had a.
And you've not really had one that's
like this,
using rifles and things like that,
right? Yeah.
Usually they're Magic and
EverQuest.
There's all these
other
things. Wow. This is one that's going to be an actual battle royale style.
It's like,
but with Division. Hopefully more people.
Yeah.
The thing is, Division was just as good as a single player game as it was multiplayer. There wasn't a huge benefit to going other than going into those one zones, which was not of the fun part of the game.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to this. I think I might go ahead and just get that that pre-order thing.
The founders
thing, yeah. So you can do that, mavericks.gg. We'll continue to talk about it. It could be a it could be a game-changing thing, and I have reached out to them on Twitter. Haven't heard back, but I think this is something you're going to want to keep your eye on. I think no matter if you aren't going to buy it.
This is a persistent open world, so it should be something that you can go and do things in and I don't know what you feel able to build or whatever you can do. There should be some sort of an effect of things happening. It's going to have it is a survival game, so this will be interesting to see how they pull it off. As I said, I'm trying to keep my expectations within realistic terms, but this is something that could be a lot of fun. Don't go in expecting that this is going to be, the most revolutionary game that's going to be the new GTA. This is going to be its own unique style, and come in expecting open to whatever it's going to be. Don't expect one thing, because if you're going in just saying I'm just going to play it and see if it's fun, you may find that you really enjoy it.
Yes. So you can check that out, mavericks.gg. We'll keep an eye on it, and we'll try to get in touch with what's the name of the company? Autotronics, something like that. That is automation. I think is what it is.
It's Automaton.
Automaton. Okay. We'll try to get in touch with them, because I think that would be something really cool to talk about. Let's see here. Let's do something real quick. Fortnite is a game that we talk about from time to time. They've got one of their quick little videos here, and this one I saw some of the animations on this on a Twitch stream earlier this afternoon, and this looks super cool. This is a new item, as you've come to expect. About every week we've got, if not 1, 2, maybe even 3 new items. So this is the sticky bomb in Fortnite. All right, the stink bomb is in Fortnite. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's a stink bomb. It's a new item in the game. You go check it out. And I have actually not played Fortnite here in a couple of weeks. I've been on the Realm Royale kick, and that's kind of taken over any of the gaming that I've been doing recently has been Realm Royale. But Nisco's saying he's not going to check out the stink bomb. That's fine, but it's a new item, and it's in there, so there you go.
Well, that's the thing, is on these type of games, how long can these places keep attention? And I guess that's kind of the question with looking at Maverick, is how long are they going to be able to keep people's attention?
Yeah.
People move on from games to games so quickly here. Not just us. I think the internet, right now, Fortnite has a lot of people's interest, and then Realm Royale has a lot of people's interest. Well, then in 2 months, what's going to be the game that everybody's playing.
Yeah.
You don't really know. I mean, it could change. And so I think with Mavericks, they're hoping to create a game that's going to hold people's interest for a little while.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, there was a dev stream for a game that we've covered for quite some time. And Miscreated actually made a big announcement here this week. And they sent out a tweet. They did a live dev stream, but they pretty much are dealing with the storage issue. That's something that we've complained about, talked about, was a big problem in Miscreated. But they are adding what they're calling kiosks. And this is actually going to allow you to store items on Steam. So you'll be able to go from server to server. You won't be limited to one server. The thing is you have to earn coins in game by playing. So it's not like you log in and then just store a bunch of stuff on Steam. You have to be able to earn these coins, by playing the game, killing things, looting things, get coins, and then those will allow you to go and store items on your Steam account, or you can have this in your clan base, and then they can kind of set who has access to what. But this will let you store items, and then let's say you want to go and play with your friends on another server, you can then on that server extract your items so that you have rifles and equipment on other servers. So
I would say, without a doubt, this is their largest issue. I don't know if this necessarily solves it, because the real issue was the base storage is that as a group, as a community, you could store 8 items, 9, 12 items, something like that. I don't remember how big it was. One of those chests. And outside of that, you were unable to store anything. This kiosk, I think, is good for solo play. Maybe playing with 1 or 2 other people, but there's still an issue if you want to play with. When we play for Game of the Week, we have 6, 8, maybe 10 people. This kiosk, I don't think, helps us a whole lot, because you can't access anybody else's items. It's just yours.
Yeah. So you can place it in your base. So
okay.
So you can place this in the base, so you can get one that you can actually place inside of your base. But yeah, it doesn't truly solve all the issues, because I think, as you said, they are limited to your account.
Yeah. Oh yes. Yeah. It's your storage. It's instanced.
And so that's the thing is you have to actually go out and find these items and get these items and do all these things, and then you have to have these coins to be able to store these items. Now, what they're really wanting to do is also create kind of an economy on Steam, to where you can trade some of the more cosmetic items. So like those jack-o'-lanterns or certain type of items that aren't like ammo and things like that. You'll be able to actually trade those items on the Steam marketplace, or sell them, or do whatever you want to do. So any of those cosmetic items you'll be able to sell and trade, but you won't be able to sell and trade guns and ammo and the things that actually make big changes to the gameplay. So so this is interesting. We'll see if it truly solves. I think they're still skirting around the issue. Okay, so here's one thing I actually wanted to mention with Mavericks. These are both run on CryEngine.
Yes.
And there are big limitations to CryEngine. This is something I'm curious with how they're going to make this on Mavericks all of a sudden be a game that works so well in multiplayer, when they're building it on an engine that's just probably one of the worst with multiplayer. So that's one thing. Keep in mind when you're approaching Mavericks. That's one thing I'm really interested to see what they do with that. And if they solve that, and if that becomes a headache that they then say, oh, I wish we want to pick this engine. Kind of like what Miscreated has said to us. We wish we hadn't chosen CryEngine in the first place. I think they're still kind of skirting around the issue. I think they're trying to avoid having people store thousands and thousands of items. And I think they're trying to avoid having servers having to hold, just items for people that aren't going to be there. Right. So I think they're using Steam as their database. I think that rather than trying to store items on the server and keep track of all that information, they're like, oh, we'll just have Steam be the database for us instead, which I still don't think is a perfect issue. I think they still need to have clan storage.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like the H1Z1 approach. Like, oh, cars aren't working? Remove them. They're fixed. Kind of. I mean, this is kind of like a half-assed response. I think that's an accurate statement. They're pushing the work off to Steam, which in a game that's you play with a group, individual instance private storage, it is exactly the problem we had with H1Z1, is that people would put their stuff in their own damn chests, and then when a base was getting raided and you needed ammo, that's the time when you go and take somebody else's ammo. And guess what? It doesn't matter if you took their ammo because your base was getting raided. In this game, you are screwed because you can't access it. So
now this does solve the problem in a way, because things are stored on your Steam account. People can't come and steal them from you.
Yeah, but that's fine. And I mean,
there's, I think that's for them. They're viewing it as, well, this allow you to save items permanently. You know, people can't raid your items and take them away from you. I think that's where they're thinking. And
I get that. And you know, of course, you've always got a couple of bad apples in every group that, you know, steal things. And Niska's talking about people always stealing his ammo. But you know,
that's one of Nick's pet peeves.
But it is. It's absolutely one of my pet peeves, especially when you're playing a multiplayer game with a group on a server. Everybody
all sharing a base.
Your item is everybody else's item. It sucks. Your
Nick's
stuff gets
taken.
Well, it's not even. I mean, yeah, it's fine. That's
video games. It's fine being the socialist.
Hey, you know,
because if you're all contributing to the same thing,
well, and
then don't expect to have your own little thing when all the rest of the things you're pulling from the base. I mean, I'm going to tell you what Nick is thinking. When you are coming in and when you're going in and using all the resources that everyone else is making and building up,
using the cars,
and then when it comes to those few things you're saying, that was my this and that was my that drives Nick up the wall. So
yeah, Ark, we had a similar issue in Ark, and I think we actually had it solved out pretty good in Ark. There wasn't any. I don't believe any. If anybody had anything private, they sure as hell kept it secret, because I would tear them a new one. Stuff like that just really bothers me in multiplayer games, because it's like, just go play solo. Go do your own goddamn thing. Don't loiter around our base and then store your stuff in
when
a
you
private
want to get
room.
Food, but
exactly.
Like, I'm storing all my guns and ammo.
Yeah,
in this
exactly.
Other building.
Yeah, I mean, and I mean that's just I don't like stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my big problem with this, especially with Miscreated. I guess we'll see. Maybe this is the solution to their problem. I personally don't.
Maybe for their player base, you got to think who their player base is.
It's not not us. I mean, we play.
They have those people that are very dedicated players. You know, they like to run around in PvP. You know, there is a huge issue with bases just getting destroyed and raided and everything being gone because there's not really a raiding system or anything. I think that this might solve that issue. I think that this might be fine. Or if you go into it saying, all right, well, I just want something that allows me to log out one day, come back, and still have something to play with when I come back. This solves that problem.
I think it might. So we'll keep an eye on it, and we'll play this. We played it somewhat recently, so in the coming weeks or so, we'll jump back into Miscreated and see when this is available, what we'll do. Let's
all right. What do you prefer?
I was just gonna say, let's just quickly go to H1Z1 and just announce. Fortunately, they're announcing that they're doing a mode. Unlike Fortnite, that just kind of does it. They're actually announcing that they're doing
the day before.
Yeah, exactly. Day 2. PUBG does the same thing. It's really frustrating. They're bringing back a game mode that they tried. This is H1Z1 King of the Kill we're talking about. A mode that they demoed a little while ago, and they've had it before.
They've done this one before.
But it's called Revive Fives. It's kind of crazy to think H1Z1 does not have a revive mode, because some other games do, and it's just kind of crazy to think that this doesn't. But it's got a mode. It's called Revive Fives. It's an arcade mode, and it is running this weekend. It's starting Friday. Actually, oh wait, was this last weekend?
No,
no. I'm sorry. It started. Yes, Brian, you gave me the false information. This was last weekend. Oh, I'm glad we didn't pick this for Game of the Week. That would have really sucked.
Okay, so it ended on the 17th. Sorry, I looked at it as it was coming up this weekend.
Now I look like a total jackass.
I forgive you. But I'm sure
this is your fault. Literally pre-show.
Well,
you're
like,
like,
thing I was gonna suggest we might maybe play this for H1Z1 for Game of the Week.
You did literally suggest that, and I recommended something else. Oh my God!
Sorry about that.
So this was last weekend. I don't know if I played. Let's ask Brian. How did Revive 5 go last weekend, Brian? How was that?
I refuse to launch that game. So. I will. Sorry, I will not be playing it.
With that, they had a new AK available.
Now, I want to make a comment. They did announce this the 15th. So they did announce it the day. They announced it the day that it started. So they are no better than the rest of the games.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We're fake news. Deal with it. This is what happens when.
Sorry, that was me supplying Nick with, because I said beforehand.
Yes. Faulty
I said, "Oh, they're having Revive 5s this weekend. We should, maybe we should have for Game of the Week." And so he came into it.
And you know what? As
my fake news,
as a radio host that I am, and as a podcaster, I should have checked my sources and not fall. Brian, I thought after 100. Brian, see the whole thing with the co-hosts, right? You're supposed to set each other up for success. We're supposed to build up each other, not like, hey, Brian, Ark.
I was just setting you up for a failure there.
Yeah, it totally set me up on that.
Like, this will make me look extra good.
But I do. Okay, so let's kind of rein this in for a second, because somebody that is kind of involved with H1Z1, or was involved with H1Z1, he was the father of H1Z1. John Smedley went on a rant on Twitter today about something related to Fortnite. And I was going to bring this up at the end of the show, but it fits in now. There's an issue with so Fortnite is cross-compatible. Cross-platform, PC, Xbox, PS4, Xbox, PC, yada yada. They recently announced a Switch compatibility with Fortnite, so it's on every device now. Sony does not allow you to use your Epic linked Sony account to play on the Switch. There's a message that says, I think it literally says you are banned from using that. And he tweeted out yesterday, last night. By the way, when I was at Sony, they stated reason internally for this was money. The locking people into specific platforms. They didn't like someone buying something on an Xbox and it being used on a PlayStation. Simple as that, dumb reason, but there it is. So just a stupid internal policy that they have received an incredible amount of bad PR over something they just need to turn off. I mean, this is absolutely stupid. There's no reason for this. And Smedley just kind of points out that this is just BS. It's just some stupid internal policy. It's no tech reason. It's nothing. It's just BS inside of a corporate structure.
So now all these places, I mean, look at these games that are just getting released. It's getting so easy. Look, with Unreal Engine, so easy to release something across so many consoles or so many platforms, that I think that the people are going to expect something different now. They're going to expect, just like that's one thing they've been battling with Rocket League, is trying to get it to where PC players can play seamlessly with PS4 players. And I think probably that still comes down to this. Because I think what they're looking at is, we want to keep people locked into our little ecosystem, where you have a game that says, well, I want people playing on a PC to play just as easily with their friends if they're playing on PS4. Hopefully that a lot of havoc and a lot of complaints are made that they'll actually have to listen to this, because I think they're holding back online gaming on purpose. Based on what they're saying. I think that they're holding back a little bit, and if they open that up, do you think it's going to hurt PlayStation in the long run, making it to where it's more accessible?
Well, I'm telling you, the PR and the outrage, people were pissed at Sony, because literally it says you are banned. You cannot play. You are not allowed to play Fortnite on your Switch, even if you've bought Season Pass, which you could have. At this point, I think they've done 3. You could have $30 invested in Season Pass. Plus, you could literally have hundreds of dollars worth of skins. And Sony's just giving you a big old middle finger if you're trying to play on the Switch. So the PR in this is just terrible. I mean, it's just there's no way you can wrap this around. Like, this is great PR.
I'm hoping that this backfires on them enough
Oh,
where
yeah.
they say, you know what, we are going to open it up to where PC players and all these people can play seamlessly with PlayStation people. Because you would think that that would be the better thing in the long run for them.
It would
Make
be.
it to where you're not say, oh, well, my friends are all playing on PC, I have to play on PC. Make it to where you can play with anyone. And I don't know why, I think the thing that they're worried about is you pay for using the online service for PlayStation. They'll probably say, well, people on PC don't have to pay to do this. I think that's their concern, is that then it'll be called out, well, why are you charging money for people to play online? People don't pay online, but all the consoles do. I think that
Well,
that
they
is
give you free
probably what
games. I
I'm
mean,
about.
yeah, but I mean, they give you games and stuff. It's not like you're just. I mean, on the Xbox 360 with Xbox Live, you literally were paying to have friends lists and party chats.
I mean,
and
there are
play
benefits.
games
I
online.
just think that they're probably not wanting people to get those thoughts in their heads.
People already have
or-
those thoughts. At least there's benefits now because I paid for Xbox Live for years when it was literally you were paying to watch Netflix and play Call of Duty online. There was no other benefit of having Xbox Live. So at least they give you. I mean, they give you games every 15 days now on both platforms.
But if you're paying for that, open it up, make it to where it's accessible.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be some little closed market system. Make it to where I can play, because that's a big thing. Rocket League said that they're going to be doing this here in the next month, opening it up to network play, I think in the next month or two.
Yeah.
To where you'll have a grouping system that works with PC. And, if they're able to do it, I don't know, what they're doing that's different than what maybe Fortnite can do. But it's got to be possible. If Rocket League is doing it, it's got to be possible.
Absolutely. So I thought that was kind of an interesting conversation. Saw some outrage on that over the internet, and then obviously our boy Smedley chiming in on it yesterday. So I thought that kind of parlayed interestingly into our fake news about H1Z1.
Sorry about that. My fault. At least I admit to it.
Oh, absolutely. And
I'm not saying you don't admit to it. I'm just saying.
I mean, it's fine. Just jab it in there. Just jab it in there a little bit more, Brian. Go ahead. I mean, it'd be a real damn shame if this computer's got shut off right now. We lost all recording. I mean, that would just really suck.
Yeah. All right. So here's a game. Let's talk about a game that I kickstarted quite a while ago. And they're actually going to be releasing on July 12th. So just under a month. They're going to be coming to where everyone else can play it now. This is Islands of Nyne Battle Royale. They do have a video. I don't know if you want to play that really quick. They just, I think, released it today, perhaps. So this is pretty fresh.
Let me get this queued up here.
And this is something that, July 12th, they will be releasing. And personally, I played it, and I think it is done pretty well. So it'll be interesting to see the polish. They've kind of pulled it back and made it to where you couldn't play it for a long time. And I think they're doing a lot of polishing because I think they want to surprise everybody with the release.
All right, well, here's their official gameplay trailer.
Please cease all hostile engagement and prepare for Battle Royale match transport in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the dome, player. Good luck. To the dome, player.
Okay. That was That's an interesting trailer. Super fast pace.
I think they're going. I mean, look at what made H1Z1 so popular with streamers.
Yeah.
Can you think of one thing? The thing is a skill gap. I think they're trying to create a game that has a skill gap again. I mean, you could say the same thing for CS:GO. CS:GO has a very large skill gap. Someone who's really good at it can really master the weapons. I think they're trying to create something like that for a battle royale style, because H1Z1 used to do it, and then they went through and kind of changed their weapon system and drove a lot of the players away. So I think that these guys are wanting to do it in kind of that style.
Yeah.
So, so that's the thing is, PH says if it was a skill gap, it would still be streamed right now. The thing is, it's not available to stream right now. So they don't have their servers open. They've been tuning it, and they're going to release so that people can actually play it. That's why you're not seeing anybody stream.
And is this game free to play on July 12th?
No. So this will be. Not sure how much it says unlocks. I paid for it,
Let's see
and
if it
so
shows me how much it is.
I don't see any kind of a price tag on it.
I don't see a price tag either.
Yeah, I would think that they're going to charge for it, but yeah, I don't see. It just tells me it unlocks in 3 weeks.
Let's see. Pre-orders are sold out, so I don't know how much those cost.
So one thing that they said it's going to be a stable 100 players per server.
So it looks like the bronze bundle was $29, so maybe a $60 title if that's what the pre-order was.
Yeah, but it may be. It probably will be a little less than that.
Okay.
It says, will the price be differently, after early access? They say it may increase moderately once out of early access, but they're not claiming it's going to be a huge jump.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe $30. I'm not sure.
So skill-based rewards and achievements, robust character customization, 2 more maps is what they're wanting to do before release, death cam replays, custom server options, detailed player profiles, and then to polish it before release. So
yeah, I mean,
I've been with this one since day one, and so I played it. When they first allowed people to play it, I was on there. So
I guess the question is rather, are people willing to spend $30 on a BR game when you can play so many other? Now, I know they're not the same, but you can play so many other games for free. I mean, PUBG charges, but there's a lot. I mean, we've got Darwin Project. We've got H1Z1, which is free to play, Realm Royale, Fortnite. There's a lot of other games now in the market that didn't exist when when PUBG started charging. So yeah, maybe it's a little bit different now than it was.
Personally, I think these guys, having felt how the combat feels, I think it will be rewarding enough to where this will kind of get its own following of people. I think people will get into it and they'll be like, they love how the shooting feels, and kind of like you got people that just play CSGO to death, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think you'll get your set of people that do that with this game, because it's not, having played it, it wasn't super buggy, and that was in pre-alpha, and so I think that this could do well with its own set of people. It's not going to be a PUBG killer, but I think you'll get a good, healthy, tiered. You'll have different rankings of people playing this game. I think you'll have people kind of like they did in H1Z1 working to get to the higher ranks when playing this game and get to more competitive type of matches.
All right. Well, we look forward to that. And what was later than that? July what?
12th.
July 12th. All right. 12th. Let's wrap up the show, even though we're running a little long, but this is big news, and I guess we got to get into it. PUBG is officially announcing and launching their map here in Sandhawk in 2 days. Friday, actually. This will be out on the 22nd. They've got a little teaser trailer here. Yeah, it's about 30 seconds long. It's just a quick little teaser. So play this and we'll talk about it. All right, so you can see that. That'll be out here in a couple days on June 22nd. It's good.
There's been some conflict with this, with the whole not being able to choose a certain map when you go in now. They're changing it to a system where, kind of like Call of Duty, you're going into a certain game type and doing a playlist. Right now, the only map on this playlist is Sandhawk. But the other playlist is that one desert map that people don't seem to like. And then their original map. So I think that's something that they've gotten a lot of flack for making people play a map that they don't want to play. But you can choose. You can either choose this map or this playlist or the other playlist or both. So if you want to have the highest chance of getting into a game, you pick both. If you just want to do the large battle royale style, you pick one and it'll take you one of the two maps. And then you can play. This is more of a quick battle royale.
Yeah, they've got
this one.
They've got two queues: battle royale or mini royale. Those are their two.
Yeah. So if you want a faster paced game, then you can do the Sandhawk map.
Yep.
And I guess they'll be adding some more smaller maps later to kind of round that out.
I'm reading this directly from their blog post. It says, our current thinking is that maps will be added separately to one or the other queues, being either battle royale or mini royale, but it's possible we'll change our plans as we learn more, which aka means we'll change our plans if the community, comes with pitchforks ablaze into the office. I'm not a big fan of this. Call of Duty does it a little bit different with Call of Duty because all those maps are available at the same time. And it's just different. It is. It's just different. All of the maps are available. There's never been a selection. There's never been just one map. There's 6 maps or 8 maps on launch. You just learn to play on all the maps. That you don't have an option. This game has gone from only having one map to having 2 with no selection to having 2 with a selection. Now back to having 3 with being able to select the new one or the 2 old ones, but not selecting them. It's just, they just keep going back and forth, and that's frustrating. That's frustrating because they just decide what you're going to do. Have all the maps in a playlist or let them be selectable. I mean, just make up your mind. It's one or the other.
I think they're worried. I think they're worried that their player base might drop, and then that will be an indicator of what their player base is. We ran into the same thing with H1Z1 where I said, hey, they don't even have enough players to fill a lobby on West Coast. And people are like, no, that's not true. Impossible. Well, it was possible. And I think that they're worried that if nobody picks the Miramar map, that then somebody will be sitting in a queue in Miramar for 30 minutes and it'll be embarrassing.
Yeah.
I think they're trying to avoid that from happening. But if the map is so bad, realize it and say, all right, maybe we'll just stop offering that map. If it's that bad that nobody, if you're forcing people to play it because nobody likes it, take the map away. Or have it for a special mode, like let people go and do something else on that map. I haven't heard anybody say, oh, Miramar is my favorite map. Not a single person.
And no one has ever said that. Things people don't say. Okay. We've got some other PUBG stuff with reviews and stuff, but we're running a little late, so we'll jump into some of that stuff here in the next couple of weeks. Anything before we get?
Sorry, yeah, we went long.
We had our interview with Jens Erik. We were kind of expecting that we'd be running long on a show. Anything else before current players that you can think of?
No. Next week or this Friday, we'll be doing Rocket League. So make sure if you have that, make sure it's installed, ready to go. This is a very fun, very polished game. Make sure it runs before you get in there. And they did do an update. I'll be talking a little bit about it here during my tip of the week.
All right. Well, while Brian's going to get his tip of the week ready here, we're going to do a segment, maybe you're new to the program, called Current Players, where I go through, we talk about some of the games that we've chatted about in this program, some of the games that we covered for a while, and tell you who's currently playing them. All right. Let's start off with H1Z1, King of the Kill. Currently playing 3,064, the 24-hour peak 8,029, with a 70 peak of 10,022. Moving on over to Ark Survival Evolved, currently playing 40,323, your 24-hour peak 59,847, with a 7-day peak of 69,826. Moving on over to everybody's favorite, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. Currently playing 40,320, currently playing 228,298, the 24-hour peak 1,290,000 with a 7-day peak of 1.5 million. Conan Exiles, currently playing 10,023, your 24-hour peak 14,444 with a 7-day peak of 18,705. And finally, Realm Royale. First time making out the current players here. Currently playing 36,064, your 24-hour peak 51,880 with a 7-day peak 105,000. Let me mind you, this game has been out 2 weeks. 2 weeks, and it's hovering around 35,000, 24-hour peak right over 50. This game's been out 2 weeks.
Yep,
which is
pretty good.
Which is pretty incredible.
And yeah, because of request, Friday the 13th currently has 352 people playing.
Why are you stealing my segment? You set me up for
failure
with
H1.
You set me up with you set me up for failure on H1Z when you make me look like a jackass on the air. Now you're still, Brian, I can read your tip of the week right off this sheet. I can mute your microphone right now and do your tip of the week, and you couldn't do anything. You literally could not do anything about it.
I'll be like those people that are holding up papers on the internet.
you're like Julian Assange locked over there in Boise, Idaho, having hold up a piece of paper. So thank you for that. 350. Well, I mean, that's what happens when you get sued out of existence. So, I guess that makes perfect sense.
Oh, well.
All right.
So tip of the week is where I go through and either give a general gaming tip or one for a specific game. And this week it will be on Rocket League. So this is tip of the week. All right, so this will be something that this Friday we'll be able to see some of this. So with the summer update, they are making a change to the progression system in Rocket League. So now they will have towards a flat progression system, and you'll be able to gain probably a level every 3 hours of gameplay. And this will make it so that you no longer receive those random items at the end of matches. You will still receive crates. And so you can randomly get a crate at the end of a match, but you won't get those random car toppers and things like that they have. And also one thing that they'll be doing to kind of enhance this is you will get XP boosts and benefits for playing in a way that enhances other people's online play. So if you engage in the party system, if you actually finish matches, if you play consecutive games, you'll get an XP boost for doing that. And then if you participate in negative behavior, let's say you go and quit games early, and you do things that are hurting other people's play, then you will get an XP penalty for playing that way. And similar to Fortnite, they're going to be going and having a system with what they're calling Rocket Pass. And this is a premium pass that will cost $10 a month or $10 per pass. And then this allows you to trade items for keys or to keep the pass. So using this, you would be able to play, get items, and then you could trade those items for keys, which will allow you to renew your Rocket Pass. So if you played a lot, you could actually get away with not paying on a monthly basis and actually using your items in game to be able to get yourself keys and not have to ever pay. So all items that you receive with the Rocket Pass are tradable. And so if you're someone who's into skin trading and trying to get the most out of that, or maybe you want to be able to have that Rocket Pass and not pay for it every month, you could earn items, gather them, trade them with other people, and then be able to continue purchasing that pass. So that'll be something that you'll notice here pretty soon. And hopefully as that changes, you'll be able to have a more enjoyable play experience, not have people quitting the games, and it'll maybe create a little healthier Rocket League. So that is tip of the week.
All right. Thank you for that very much, Brian. And I will say, I've got it. Since you jumped into my segment, something very similar that you can also do, and this is for the Microsoft people specifically. If you don't want to pay for Xbox Live or Xbox Game Pass, sign up for Bing Rewards using the Bing search engine. Set that as your default engine, and you get points for literally searching. And I have I have Xbox Game Pass and Xbox Live, and I don't pay for either of them. I just use Bing as my search engine, which for most of the time works just as well as 99% of the time works just as well as Google, and I get free stuff. So,
well, and they do something similar with WoW. You can actually buy the monthly subscription with in-game currency, if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's the thing is for people that play it religiously. I mean, if you were really into that, you know, you could do that, but I think it would take someone playing pretty regularly, you know, to be able to constantly get those fees and to maintain that.
Yeah, well, and it's kind of how Microsoft does it with theirs. You've got to use the engine enough. I've got it set on all my computers, logged into my Microsoft account. So I search.
When's Google going to pay me?
They won't. No, you have to actually pay them to use their tools, and then they'll shut it down on you right when you're right when you're in the middle of using it. All right.
Are we ready for the game giveaway?
Oh yes, totally forgot about that.
All right, so let's go ahead and roll for this. Congratulations, X Bravo. I will send you a message that will have this on here. So,
and he said that my Bing tip was a better tip. Sorry, Brian. Hey, you know what? I mean, what am I? Hey, it's not. I mean, it's not my fault. It's not my fault at all.
Sorry, that's fine with me. Mine was specific to our game of the week. I was trying to be
Mine was just specific to saving you. I don't know, $60 a year, $15 every 3 months. But it's fine. Tip of the infection game of the week. Brian's got you covered. Alrighty. I think we covered everything. Again, I want to thank our friend Erik over at Conan Exiles Fun Comp for recording that interview with us. We'll hopefully be talking to him again soon. Maybe about his maybe about the next project that the Fun Comp's working on. If you're interested in us interviewing somebody, there's a name. Maybe you've got an in somewhere. You know somebody somewhere that fits our genre. Get in touch with us. I think we've said this in the past and we just never do. But these interviews are fun to do when there's relevant news to talk about. So if there's a game coming out, something like that that is relevant to what we do, and you've got a contact or maybe just a suggestion, get in touch with us. And if we have the means to get in touch with them, because the reality is we email and most of the time don't get a reply because every other schmuck that does a podcast emails them too, just like us. So it's a little hard to get in touch with people. Fortunately, we've forged a relationship with some people like Erik and Nelson from Unturned and stuff like that, but not everybody else. So let us know. Contact at infectionpodcast.com. Tweet us at infectioncast. To leave a comment on YouTube, ping us in Discord. There's a million. You have no excuse to not get in touch with us. We've got a million ways to get in touch with us.
We are approachable.
So we are very, very approachable. And all the links, all that information's on our website, infectionpodcast.com. Alrighty, Brian, thank you very much. Appreciate it. And what's game of the week and when are we playing?
We'll be playing this at, what is it?
8 p.m. Eastern?
6 o'clock. So it's my time. So it's 8 p.m. Eastern. So 8 p.m. Eastern, we'll be playing some Rocket League. So make sure that it is installed and ready and updated to go on your system. So this will be something that hopefully we'll send out a Steam notification this time.
Yes.
And maybe we'll be streaming it. But we usually get a pretty healthy turnout. It is a really fun game, very polished. And so if you have that game, or it's one of those recommended buys, you'll get your money's worth out of it. It's a very, very good game. And I think it'll be a game that's around for quite a while. So if you want to get a hold of me, at Boise Computer on Twitter, of course, you can go check out my blog, biteoftech.com. Make sure you go check out our website. We have a contact form on there, or you can email contact@infectionpodcast.com. Also, we have links to our Discord, our Steam group for notifications, and all of our different audio and video formats. So just go to our website, the right-hand side, and we'll also have our show notes. So all the information that we talk about, we'll have show notes, and some of the stuff we even don't talk about, we still have in the show notes. And we have that for all 179 episodes of the show. So
it's been quite a ride.
Yes,
been quite a ride for sure. Kind of quick programming note, and I haven't even talked to you about this, Brian, but the July 4th, July 3rd, I believe I've got something I need to attend for work. So the show around the 4th of July may be a day or two tape delayed. We may do it a day early, something like that. So just be aware for that.
Maybe we could do it on Monday or something.
Yeah, we might do it on a Monday or something like that. So I know, stale bread content. What are you going to do? Well, you know, when duty calls.
Just say we're coming a day early. We're getting to you sooner.
Hey, yeah, exactly. You only have to wait 6 days between the last episode. Alrighty, Brian, thank you very much. Appreciate it. And I will chat with you Friday night.
Very good.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Again, thank Jens Erik. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. I don't think I mentioned this on the podcast, but I do want to thank our friend Judd, who timestamped last week's episode on YouTube. If you're a YouTube viewer, maybe if you're listening to the podcast live or whatever, you can go and click through that. And then I want to thank my friend Sean, Brian and I's friend Sean, who I was griping about how I could do this conveniently earlier. And he, in a matter of like 5 minutes, wrote me a little program that I've got over on my screen over here. And I've been typing in the topics, and it's automatically timestamping it based on when I started my recording. So we're going to try putting that on YouTube and have all the timestamps on there. So thank you to Sean. Thank you to Brian. And I do also want to thank our good friend Green Man Cartoons. Check out his YouTube channel. He subscribed to us right before the show here. And our friend Firebomb, who is spraying us with some bits during the show as well. Well, you can visit our website, infectionpodcast.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicholas M. Craig. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Infection. We'll see you next time.